Hey there, I'm Lesley Stokes with the Northern Miner, and we're downtown Vancouver today visiting the Geological Survey of Canada's office because they're celebrating their 175th anniversary. So let's go on in and check it out. 2017 marks the 175th anniversary of Canada's oldest scientific agency, the Geological Survey. So we came down Northern Miner to check it out and to share in the celebration. We've got Steve Irwin here. He's the head of the Vancouver branch in downtown Vancouver. And he's just going to be talking to us about the history of the GSC.
The Geological Survey of Canada predates Canada by 25 years.
Wow.
It's the first scientific organization set up in Canada, predates it. And it was set up to look at and find and identify where the resources were in the new British colony at that time. And so the colonial government at the time granted and appointed Sir William Logan at the time. They granted him a sum of money to go out and look for natural resources, primarily at that time coal for the British industry in setting up in Canada, but also copper and other resource minerals to help develop and grow the new colony in Canada. So a lot of his early mapping was done in the Ottawa Valley and out towards Quebec, Gaspé. And then over the years, the survey grew in size. Some prominent early explorers included George Dawson. He was one of the first people that came to the West Coast and did the geology of significant parts of BC and including what was then called the Queen Charlotte Islands, now we know as Haida Gwaii. And he did that in 1878. So just after BC had joined Confederation, and we continue to produce maps and reports that are free to the public and free to industry to help them go out and do what they do best and look for the resources that we all need.
Right.
So today at this open house we're featuring some of that work we do and to let people know how it applies to their everyday life.
Cool, because it certainly does, and definitely has such a big impact to explorers looking for metals and oil and such throughout the country too. So the one thing I always notice about the GSC is the quality of maps that you guys do produce and how explorers can use that to kind of hone in on certain areas to produce more detailed work to find those deposits that we're always hunting after. So how well mapped is Canada today, 175 years later?
Yeah, well, yes, and people go, well, haven't you finished mapping it yet? and most of the country has a very high level quality detailed mapping, but a lot of it doesn't still, and primarily the north is a good example. The northern Canada, Nunavut, and Northwest Territories. A lot of that area was mapped only in the 60s for the very first time.
Wow, really?
Yeah, but in the 60s, we didn't have helicopters back then. It was largely by small plane, if we were lucky. A lot of times it was some of the work was by boat. And of course, the other thing that's changes and continues to change and evolve is geology itself. And so 60 years ago, we didn't have the different models, the modern models of how geological forces work, the idea of plate tectonics.
Yeah.
The other thing there's been huge advances is how we date rocks with radiometric dating, the use of zircons to get precise absolute ages, our understanding of fossils and their evolution and their ability to date that allows us to create much more detailed maps, much better understanding of maps. Nowadays, of course, we've been working with helicopters for 40 years. Helicopters allow us to go into areas that the early explorers never had a chance to do. They would go in by horse if they were lucky. And so in the 50s and 60s, the GSC was still using horse parties. When I started working here in the 80s, scientists that were still on staff then, they were on those horse parties. So it's not that long ago that we were basically still looking at the land the way Dawson and Logan and Selwyn were 150, 175 years ago. So
Wow.
geology is continually evolving. And so our ability to make maps and refine maps continues. So, the mapping, you could say, it will never be done, but it'll certainly improve. And that's what we've been doing for 175 years. Is we've been improving the knowledge, the understanding of Canada through mapping and geoscience. Right now I'm working with a team of scientists in northern BC and the Yukon on a very multidisciplinary approach to the mapping that we're doing and the understanding. So, and we, of course, as I mentioned before, we partner with our provincial and territorial colleagues who also bring in more expertise. We work with academics at universities. We have we often refer to it as a great farm team for new geoscientists through our employment and support of graduate students at universities.
Cool.
So yeah,
and that's going to make a big difference up
exciting.
there, because we've seen so many majors flush into the Yukon territory. Everyone's still hunting for that, enigmatic sort of gold deposit in the Klondike. So definitely more information will be needed.
Yeah. No, we're doing a lot of work with that.
Excellent.
That's
All right. So for everyone listening, where would you advise them to kind of go to get some information, some data maybe specifically for their area, or to see what kind of programs you guys have? I guess just the website, or
there's
anything to
a
keep an eye
website.
out
Just
for?
look us up online. We're part of Natural Resources Canada. That's the federal department that we're part of. But our agency is the Geological Survey of Canada. So that's available online. And certainly if people are here in Vancouver, we have this office right downtown. You can walk over on your lunch hour if your office is in downtown. And we've got a geoscience library that's publicly open to the public. And we've got lots of staff, both scientific and support staff, that are more than welcome to help out people here, or also email or phone. We're here to work with Canadians and help Canadians.
Yeah, that's great. And they're giving me a geology map of Canada too next week, which is exciting. So thanks so much for that,
No, you're most
Steve.
welcome.
And great to be sharing this extraordinary day with you guys.
Thank
and
you.
Can't wait to dig my hands in that augmented reality sandbox. So
We'll look
we should
forward to that.
probably jump over there.
All right.
Get right on that.
Great.
Okay.
Thank
Thanks so
you.
much.
Thanks.
Thanks so much for joining us today. I hope you all had a great time. The augmented reality sandbox is definitely my favorite. Lost my mind over all the rocks. And most importantly, just big thanks to the Geological Survey of Canada for having us today and offering this to the city of Vancouver. So see you next time.